The stars are right, and that means it's time for another episode of The Whisper in Darkness. I'm your host, the Man from Lang. Thank you very much for joining me today. On this episode, we are continuing with our reviews of the Seeker cards in the Path to Carcosa Investigator expansion. This is part 3 of our look at the Seeker cards. We are going to discuss Logical Reasoning, No Stone Unturned, and Eureka. There are spoilers throughout if you care about that sort of thing. If you enjoy what you hear, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Before we get started, a quick reminder of how we rate cards here on The Whisper in Darkness. The best of the best get an Elder Sign, while the worst of the worst get an Auto Fail, and the cards in between get a +1, 0, or Elder Thing respectively. Cards that you build around or cards that are good in one particular deck get a Bless token, while cards that we believe are destined to end up on the list of taboos or are simply bad for the big game get a curse token. Before I get started, I'd like to thank the patrons of this channel for their tremendous support. You all rock. If you'd like to be amazing like these people and support the channel's goals and see your name on this list, head over to patreon.com, sign up for a tier of your choice, and claim your rewards. That would be awesome. Special thanks to Cole Monroe Chitty, Nicole Fiscus, and Nate Lost in Time and Space for their contributions to the channel. I couldn't do it without you. Without further ado, let's get started. Welcome back to our reviews of the player cards in the Path to Carcosa Investigator expansion. This is part 3 of our look at the Seeker cards in the box. We have a bunch of really good cards in this batch, so we're going to dive right in. The first card is Logical Reasoning. It's a 2-cost event with 2 willpower skill icons. Insight trait, play only if you have at least 1 clue. Choose an investigator at your location. That investigator either heals 2 horror or discards a terror card from his or her threat area. Man, oh man, do the Rogue Seekers love this one.
I was just going to say, this is the best Rogue card they've ever printed.
Yeah.
Oh,
what was it? Keep your shotgun close and keep your logical reasoning closer.
Yeah, this card just is the perfect silver bullet for that stupid Frozen in Fear.
Yeah, terror cards, when they show up, they're actually like really nasty. And also it has great icons. Like, this is Guts 3 and 4. If nothing else. In fact, I think there's been a couple of times when I've built decks and it ended up being Guts 1 and 2 because I really wanted the the terror card discarding. It's not all the time, but terror cards can really shut you down, and so being able to just like help somebody out is really nice. Plus, I'm a big fan of that. It's versatile, so you've got Guts 3 and 4 here. You can deal with an encounter card that could be really making someone have a hard time. But also, you can heal horror if someone has drawn that tentacle on Rotting Remains and now is hurting. So I think it's like you have 3 ways to like bail someone out here, and this is a good card because of that.
Yeah,
like, versatile.
Yeah, this is like I would say like the epitome of a solid support card in Seeker.
Oh yeah,
like the restriction is whatever. Like you're most of the time gonna have a clue, and then both effects are very useful most of the time in the game.
And the icons are useful too.
Yes.
Yeah, and I like how the icons are thematic. You use willpower. You help out someone's willpower. It's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of those cards that has only gotten better with time, as we have seen a bunch of low willpower rogues show up who can take Seeker cards. I'm thinking Finn, you've got Monterey, stuff like that, where their willpower is just so woeful that they really don't have a hope in hell of passing any sort of willpower skill test greater than 2. And even then they're going to be really struggling. So having either 2 willpower skill icons, great. Heals 2 horror if you don't happen to draw the terror card, great. And then if you do have a Frozen in Fear in your threat area, or somebody at the table does, you can get rid of that. And that's I use this to great effect in my Monterey Jack deck to deal with Frozen in Fear. In fact, I will draw for it if necessary, because the chance of me actually passing Frozen in Fear is next to 0. So this is your magic bullet.
I do want to note that one thing that's like really solid about this, especially for Frozen in Fear, is that okay, so you don't get a chance to pass the Frozen in Fear test until after you've taken your turn, which means no matter what, you are going to get hit by Frozen in Fear, and it is going to cost you actions if that's what you're planning to do this turn. So if you want to feel like $1,000,000 and like have someone buy you a beer, just get rid of their Frozen in Fear before their turn starts. That is a pro play, which is why I'm just going to jump right in and give this thing another sign.
Yeah, this thing is easy Elder Sign material. It's
Yeah.
very good.
I will give it an Elder Sign as well. It's simply gotten better with time as we've seen more investigators that need this card or need an effect like this to survive. I think I also have played this in Ursula because of her damn signature weakness that keeps coming back from time to time and
It is
being
a
able
terror, yep.
to heal
It's a
the horror.
terror. Also, I think this goes well in any seeker with 3 willpower, because the 2 willpower icons puts you up to 5 for dealing with things frozen in fear, but rotting remains. Just that typical willpower 3 that is pretty ubiquitous.
Oh.
So even like when you just use it for the icons, I think it's the right number of icons that you need to go from fail to pass.
Or Daisy with a shriveling charge.
Yeah, exactly.
So a very nice card in logical reasoning if you need icons or horror healing or to deal with frozen in fear. This one has got you covered. The next card is No Stone Unturned. It's a 2-cost event with a wild skill icon insight trait. Choose an investigator at your location. That investigator searches the top 6 cards of his or her deck for a card, draws it, and shuffles his or her deck. What do you guys think about No Stone Unturned?
So I think when this card was first printed, it was pretty reasonable. But as the game has progressed, holy, has this card gotten ridiculous with investigators like Mandy or Joe. Yes, Joe Diamond can take this in his hunch deck, and then all of a sudden you're playing this for free. It's like, what? Goodness gracious, this card is really good. And it's one of the only cards that actually lets you dig through your deck for a certain card. Whereas a lot of the other Seeker cards, like Prop Sketches, is just raw card draw.
Oh, just straight up.
This actually lets you find what you're looking for.
I think the only downside of this card is that it can feel a bit slow. If you don't find what you're looking for, and you end up having to like get something kind of lame, you're gonna feel bad. And yeah, you might as well have played preposterous sketches instead at that point. Yeah, I do wish it was Search 9 just for like symmetry with other search, but it's fine. Yeah, and I think I think if it costs like 1, then it'd probably do good because you'd compare it to like preposterous sketches. Yeah, so this feels about right. It can get a little slow because if you load up on draw, like this is going to be one of your slowest draw. I also think it kind of gets outshone by Backpack level 2 as time goes on.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. With Mandy, this card's ridiculous.
Oh yeah. Well, if you have an effect that triggers off of searching, that's different. Yeah, I'm just thinking like for just digging for what you need.
I think it actually gets shown up by Eureka, which is the next card we're going to talk about.
Yeah,
Eureka
being
dump a Eureka on a skill test and basically get half of this card
for free.
Yeah, I think Eureka does something a little different though, because I think Eureka's more about volume, and you're already moving along, where this is more like a setup card.
Yes, I would agree with your assessment on that. It's like No Stone Unturned is like I need some particular asset out of my deck to progress my game plan, and No Stone Unturned is my insurance policy that I get it.
Yeah, where Eureka's more like I'm moving along, so I move through my deck faster. You know, it's like after the car has started.
Yeah, and I think like with the context of Min being the investigator in the box, you know, like with Min, you use it to find whatever you need early, and then you just commit it as unexpected courage later on.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
But like in that regard, it's actually a very solid card, regardless of any other context. I
think this is one of those cards that when it was first released, I put it in my decks, and I don't think I have put it in a deck since because it feels slow.
Yeah, I think in lower player counts especially, this card is just too slow. But in 3-4 player, like you probably need some particular asset where like it sort of like balloons the game out of control. Like if you're using this to fetch guiding stones, for instance, like this is really good in 3-4 player. But that same impact is not felt in like 1 and 2 player.
Gotcha. Yeah, I remember I've used this a lot in like when I had a smaller collection. I used this a lot in Lola Haze because Lola compared to a lot of other investigators, like really cares about which card she draws. Like even when she's set up, she still cares about what's in her hand and what she finds. And also you bypass weaknesses. So yeah, I've used this to great effect there. So this is like we were even saying, this isn't about like volume. This is about like you want specific things. And I know Lola cares about specific things, but no, I think this card it's still pretty good. I think if you load up with half your deck with card draw, it's probably not so necessary because you're drawing through your whole deck anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, but especially like if your options are this and like preposterous sketches, I think this is like really solid.
How would we rate this one?
I'm going to give this a +1. I think this is a very solid card overall. I do think that over time, or maybe even in certain decks, you're not going to want to play this, but I think in a lot of cases, it's pretty good. If nothing else, it's got a wild skill icon on it.
Yeah.
You know, it draws a card and it's got good icons. I can't really complain about that.
Yeah, no, this is pretty good. I think I'm also going to go with +1. I think this is one that is kind of like field work where in the if you consider the secret card pool from like the mortal perspective, I think this is like better. Like this is like +1 territory. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
I'm going to go 0 on this one. I think just based on my personal experience with this card, I put it in my deck and found it somewhat underwhelming, or just not a card I wanted to spend the 2 resources and the action on, even though I was going to get something. It just felt like a bad action to take. And I think in certain investigators, certainly Min bumps this up. Mandy, of course, just due to the way her mechanics work. So it is, I think, a good card in certain investigators. But I'd be sort of cautious putting this in my deck in solo unless I was sort of had a one of in my deck that I absolutely needed for the deck to function. But I tend, when I'm building my solo decks, to have a lot of redundancy where I have a bunch of cards that basically do sort of the same thing. So I have a bunch of cards that will help me get clues, a bunch of cards that help me evade or fight. And so if I don't get one, I usually have another, and that's usually enough. And so I don't need to go find the thing that's going to help me win the game.
So that what you're describing is a deck that probably enjoys preposterous sketches.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, prop sketches is much better in solo for that reason, because you spend the action and you get more out of it, whereas No Stone is kind of middling, like Man from Lang said. Like you generally just also don't have the resources to spend on a card like this, because you kind of play to the board turn 1, and then you're sort of saving your resources for something else, whether it's something like higher education or I've got a plan or your other events to deal with enemies and stuff. Like this doesn't help you do that in solo. So you just don't have the time to play a card like this a lot of the time in solo.
The next card is Eureka. It is a skill with a willpower, intellect, and agility skill icon innate trait. If this skill test is successful, the investigator performing this test searches the top 3 cards of his or her deck for a card, draws it, and shuffles his or her deck. I must admit that I believe I got this card wrong in my initial reviews way back when. I believe this came out in the Pallid Mask. I was positive about it, but I don't think I was as positive as I could have been, having had a chance to play it since. It can be very, very nice if you need to find something in particular, especially in somebody. The Monterey Jack. What's it? Blackmail or the deck where you can only play singletons. A card like this can be a lifesaver, because you only have one copy of Logical Reasoning, and if you need to find it. This will generally do it for you. So I admit that I may have misrated this card back in the day. What do you guys think about this one?
To me, this has become a secret card that I have to have a really good reason not to include in my decks. It's so good.
Yeah, it's just really easy too.
The spread of
Yeah.
icons is perfect. And
Oh yeah, because
that's
it's
the one thing.
three. Yeah, it doesn't have the one it's missing is the one you never do. Yeah.
And I mean, it basically says, look at the top 3, draw a card, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's going to draw someone a card.
Mhm.
And if you're playing this in min, it's basically Unexpected Courage with draw a card on it. Like, holy, that is so good.
Yeah, it's kind of true. Yeah.
This card is, it seems unassuming, but when you play it more and more, you realize just like how good this card really is.
Yeah, it's the fact that it's like effectively fast. And fast draw is incredibly broken. And this is just more fast draw. It's only one card, but it costs 0 and doesn't cost an action. So yeah, and it digs more than 1 deep. So
yeah, it's a draw that dodges weaknesses.
Yeah, it's a draw that dodges weaknesses. So I like to think of this in comparison to like perception and guts and manual dexterity. So you trade away the second icon. So you're not really using this to like get yourself over the line to pass a test, unless it's like your second commit, or if your friend needs just one more icon to get like 3 over and cover that, cover that elder thing or something, then it really helps there. But it's not like guts where it's like, oh no, I'm not gonna pass this, and then you use guts and you say, yeah, I'm gonna be all right, and then you draw a card. So this is more like you're already doing okay, I feel, and then you're just pushing farther. So it's almost like it's about lowering your dex.
It's for 5 stat investigators.
Yeah, so exactly.
5 intellect or 5 evade, this card is bananas.
Yeah, so it helps you go through your deck faster. So it's one of those, like, I think Magic the Gathering coined the term cantrip back in the 90s.
This is absolutely a cantrip, yep.
The idea is, like, its power is in the fact that it virtually makes your deck smaller.
It's free, essentially. It's basically just a free card in your deck, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what's going on with this one. Yeah, and also, unlike, say, Guts, like, you have 3 options of tests you can, like, commit this to. So it's really more of like it's not about using the icons to pass the test. It's more about like you're already passing the test. This maybe bumps you up from 3 over to 4 over, maybe, but it's really about like I'm already passing the test. Let's get a benefit out of it, and go through my deck faster. So as a result, it's like kind of like a gimme. It's just like super easy to play. It's so easy to play that it's like you have to think of a reason why not to.
Yeah,
cards like this are like why Seekers, if you squint hard enough, have a 28 card deck size. Because they can play 2 Eurekas. Yeah.
And then even if you just think about like a normal Seeker turn, right? I play Milan. I'm a 4 intellect investigator. I go up to 5. I commit Eureka. I'm at 6.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. Boom.
And then like I've already spent all of my resources. So how do I draw cards? Well, I investigate. I play Eureka. Now I gain a resource and look at the top 3 and draw a card. All of a sudden, like this is
there you go. Oh look, magnifying glass. Boop. Yeah. And then you're still going. Yeah. It's one of those where it's like you're already taking off. But what it does is it's not the same. It's not what No Stone Unturned is about. No Stone Unturned is about like it's turn 1 and I drew badly. I need my Milan. Let me go find it. Like that sort of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe when I initially rated this card, I rated it lower because of the icon issue, where you need to succeed to get the card, but the icons on it don't necessarily help you over that finish line. But when you look at it in the context of, say, 5 intellect or whatever Seeker, it makes a lot more sense. And then, of course, Min's in the box, who basically turns this into, whatever skill you happen to need, except combat. And if Min's fighting, something terrible has happened. So over the years, I've been adding this to my decks more and more often, and the ability to just find something useful in the top 3 is just, it's a nice perk. And yeah, I would agree that it's probably not your first commit if you're like, say, even before you're starting to commit. Like, this isn't necessarily going to succeed if you just commit this. You'll need something else. But if you're already going to pass the test, this is very nice indeed. How do we rate this one?
Oh, this is easiest Elder Sign for me. I love this card so much. It's so good. I think even in the situations where like there's a lot of times in lower player counts you're one over and you don't want to commit guts. And then
Oh
Eureka
yeah,
all of a sudden is just like the perfect card to commit. You're
yeah.
like, it's like 5 versus 4. I really don't want to commit guts, or I really don't want to commit perception to this, but I kind of need a card. And then Eureka's like, I got you. It ends up being in practice, like you end up being one over a lot in solo because you play an
Oh, I
asset
see.
that gives you a +1 boost, and now all of a sudden I'm 5 versus 4, and now Eureka
Oh.
puts me 6 versus 4, and it ends up in practice being a hell of a lot better than it looks on paper.
So I'm gonna be honest. I think this is a small piece of a larger problem with Seekers, of like fast draw, and blowing through the deck really quickly. That it's not like the most egregious curse, but I think this is actually part of a larger curse juggernaut. So it still is in team curse. It's still wearing the T-shirt, and it goes to the annual meetings, not the weekly chapter meetings, but the annual meetings. Yeah,
It's definitely. I can see where you're coming from,
yeah.
but I don't know. This card's so good.
Oh no, I agree, but I think the fact that I think it's just a little too easy to make work. Yeah, I think it's part of a larger juggernaut. Like, you'd be hard pressed to find like an overpowered Seeker deck that doesn't have 2 Eurekas.
I do think that Eureka is unironically probably the best card draw in the game.
Yeah, because it's free and it digs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Although I don't know, cryptic research.
But I have to spend XP. 4 XP on that. Yeah.
Exactly. I feel like if Eureka just drew a card, then I'd feel a lot better about it, because you wouldn't get the dig, and then you're kind of like, okay, so it's kind of like a guts. You get to use it on 3 different tests. Yeah. But it's only 1 icon. Then it would feel like there's actual trade-offs there. Yeah.
Whereas this is just pretty much strictly better guts most of the time.
Yeah, because the effect is just better. Yeah, so I think it creeps into secret. Like I was saying, it's got a membership card. It may not be at the rallies, but it's definitely
Especially because you can do this more than once per round. So if you have a way to recur this, then all of a sudden you're like basically doing infinite draw. If you have a way to take infinite actions and skill tests, like yeah.
I was literally building a deck like that a couple weeks ago, so just to see how it worked. And but yeah, I think this is like cursed territory.
I'm going to give this one an Elder Sign. It is, as both Matastrophic and Nate have pointed out, it is a excellent card. And if you happen to be playing Min out of the box, it's very, very good in her. But other Seekers also like it as well. And I think when I was looking over the Seeker skill cards, this one really stands out, especially as your card pool grows. There are kind of a bunch of wonky Seeker skills that this one is just head and shoulders above a lot of them that come in future sets, and so it's a very easy add-on. I believe there's one in the Circle Undone. I can't remember what it does, but it's kind of like, I don't really, compared to Eureka, it just doesn't really stand up. As your skill card pool grows, I think this one stands head and shoulders above the rest, and it's a pretty easy addition to a deck. Certainly not going to make your deck worse, that's for sure. So that's going to do it for our look at this batch of Seeker cards. Let us know in the comments down below what you think. Any final thoughts on a pretty strong bunch of cards?
Yeah, well, the first chunk of level 0 cards we looked at were less than stellar. The back half were quite good.
Well, we can actually start seeing some some like trends here. It's the cards that don't have restrictions, are the ones that tend to be pretty good. The flexible ones that, do the thing, and then you've got logical reasoning, where it's not only does it have like flexible text, but it also has 2 icons, so it's really flexible. And you got Eureka, which is super flexible. It has 3 different icons, and from which to like fire its test. And then you got No Stone Unturned, which even has a wild icon to back it up. Oh my gosh, yeah, it's like
Eureka is like the unique case of where normally a spread of icons on a skill card might be its death sentence, but in Eureka's case, it's a benefit because, oh, look, I get to draw.
Yeah, you get to like do the thing off of different skill tests. So, yeah, but I think the key here is we have anatomical diagrams, which is kind of killed by its narrowness and restrictions. And then you've got like Eureka and Logical Reasoning and Nose to Unturned, which are great cards because of their versatility.
That's going to do it for this episode. If you enjoyed what you hear, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you need to contact me, I can be reached at manfromlang@gmail.com. I'm also on Twitter at manfromlang. Until the stars are right, keep your shotgun close and your elder sign closer. Take care out there, and happy investigating.